Ladies and gentlemen, we got Austin Gomez on the Clash of Combat podcast. This episode is brought to you, of course, by the Dopa Bands. Crosby's actually getting a good workout in. How's it going, buddy?
I love these things.
If you guys would like to get your own Dopa Bands, visit the link in the description below. Let's get into the podcast.
We didn't come here to play school. I came here to wrestle and win a national title.
You could see, like, right as you got off your back, it was like, no, this dude is not doing this.
Exactly. I actually hate Greco. He called us one day and it was like, I'm not going to make it. Austin, you have to take care of your sisters and your mom. And I just broke down bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Clash of Combat podcast. Today we are joined with Austin Gomez. Austin, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited. So, first up, what is the biggest thing that up on your list? What's next for you?
I actually leave for Pan Am's on Saturday down in Argentina. So
Sure.
I'll be competing down there. I actually fly down to Mexico City, stay there for a day, and then from Mexico City we fly down to Buenos Aires, and then I'm there for about like a 10-day training camp, and then I compete on May 6th.
Yeah. So for those Pan Ams, I guess how often are you always I know you're not always training in Mexico, but I guess how does that kind of work with that situation?
Yeah, so basically for Pan Am's, it's basically just like a qualifier. All you need to do is weigh in to qualify to wait for the World Championships.
Yeah.
So, so whenever they need me down to Mexico City to train, I'll go down there.
Yeah.
But they had a training camp before even we leave for Argentina, but they kind of gave me a pass because I'm busy with school and stuff like that, and they know I want to train here for the most part and stick with my coaches here.
Yeah.
Do you know what that 10-day training camp looks like?
No idea.
Never anything like it?
Never anything like it, nope. So, I mean, it's going to be an experience, so I'm excited about it, though.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
sure.
Would you ever, because, I mean, you're insane at throws. Would you think of just doing Greco?
No, I hate Greco.
What?
Yeah, I actually hate Greco. I just, was never a fan of it.
I would never guess.
I would never guess that either.
I just hate it's a tough sport, man. It's a different Greco is literally a different sport than freestyle and folk style.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's brutal, it's more intense, and I like shooting the legs, and so I just like freestyle the best.
Didn't you win Fargo and Greco twice?
I did, yeah.
How does that play?
I was a 2-time Fargo champion Greco, and the last year I basically retired from Greco. I won Cadet Wrestler of the Year in Greco.
Wow.
Dude, how do you just stop?
Yeah.
I just wanted to focus on freestyle. I think the love of Greco for me went away from Fargo because I'd go to the training camp down in Champaign, Illinois, where we had our training camp for Fargo for Team Illinois. So we would be down there for 6 or 7 days, whatever it was, training, and then we make the drive up to Fargo. You're there for 2 days before you even compete. You wrestle in Greco for 2 days. Mm-hmm. Then you get a day off, and then you got to spend that time cutting weight.
Yeah.
And then you got to wrestle in the grind of the freestyle tournament, which is, 3 days? It was 3 days long. I don't know how long it is now.
No, it is a long tournament. It's grueling. If you do both styles, that's some hard.
Yeah, I was over it. I'm like, Dad, this is my last year wrestling Greco because, to me, college coaches really don't look at Greco whatsoever. Yeah. So I was like, I just want to focus strictly on freestyle and folk style. And, so I was just like, I'm done weighing in 6 times in 1 week.
Yeah.
Do you still like the wrestling aspect of it?
Yeah, it's Greco's an art.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to watch, just the different kind of hand fighting, the position changes and stuff like that. So I enjoy watching it, but I don't want to wrestle it ever.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Is there a reason you in your matches? I mean, you always, I wouldn't say, do you rely on upper body?
No, not at all. I just go for it.
Yeah.
I'm just
scared money don't make money.
Yeah, exactly. I just live by the sword and die by the sword. So if it's there, I'm going to take it. But if it's not there, I'm not going to go for it. And I think one of my matches this year, I think it was with Max Mirren, I didn't go upper body once, and I just really kind of just picked him apart.
Yeah.
Just hand fought with him and beat him at what he does best to everybody. So, I think that match right there kind of just all right, he can pick him apart and pick guys apart. So.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember I think it was Drexel?
Yeah.
So we were there in the tri-duel.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, there was 3 divisions wrestling all within Wisconsin. Of course, the Division 1 Badgers, D2 we had Parkside, and then D3 Lacrosse. So it's a cool tri-duel, but yeah, going into the match.
It was like the first minute or two you got put to your back, or
Yeah.
or you went for a throw.
It was like the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It was like the first 10 seconds. I had an underhook, and he went underhook, so I tried going inside trip. And I'm a short 149-pounder.
Yeah.
So the guy was pretty tall, so he just used his length on me and put me to my back. And I just remember, like, flying up there, hitting the mat, and I was like, oh, crap. And I was like, once I get off my back, like, it's not going to be good for this kid.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended the match, like, a minute later, maybe.
You could see, like, right as you got off your back, it was like, no, this dude is not doing this.
Exactly. No.
I don't know. He was ready for it.
No.
Yeah. And when was that? What was the date of that?
That was this
Early
December?
January?
That was December, I think.
Oh, it was right before mid-states for us.
Yeah.
So like December, like maybe 11th or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like right after I just beat Yanni and Sasso,
Yeah.
and I was like, I can't be like, I'm not taking anything away from the kid. Like, I was like, I can't lose this match
Yeah.
like that. So
We're talking. We're like, isn't it crazy? Like Gomez beat both finalists this year. How is your mentality now that, of course, all 3 of you are studs, but how is your mentality? Like, has it changed? Is it the same?
I don't think it's changed at all. You know, I still think I'm the best guy at that weight class, and it just wasn't shown in March.
Yeah.
You know, I think, who was it? So it was Yanni, Sasso, Van Ness, Murin A8, who else? Parko A8. I beat, like, Blockus A8. I beat 5 guys on that podium.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I lost to Parko and just didn't wrestle the other 2. So I know, like, I'm there. It just, it just wasn't shown kind of the last part of the season. And, you know, injuries suck, but it happens. It's part of the sport. It's nothing new to me, and, you know, some adversity I have to overcome.
Yeah. One thing that I'm, like, surprised, like, you didn't really, or you're still not using that as kind of an excuse for whether that be maybe why you didn't win those matches or...
No, yeah, I'll never use it as an excuse. You know, it's just not my time yet.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, everybody's hurt at the national tournament. Nobody's 100%. You know, everybody's dinged up towards the end of the season. So, I'll just never use it as an excuse. It's hard to get training in when, you know, I couldn't really walk for a week after my injury. And then, you know, taking about 3 weeks off the mat and, you know, practicing maybe a handful of times leading up to Big Tens. And, you know, it was hard mentally to overcome some of those challenges. And, you know, I was just putting thoughts into my head like, can I really do this when I'm not 100%? You know, am I really the best guy at this weight class when I'm not 100%? So there was a lot of self-doubt going in my mind that, you know, going in the Big Tens I really couldn't overcome. And then when Nationals came around, I was like, all right, screw it. You know, I just have to go out there and wrestle, right? And, you know, just got caught up in a few mistakes, and tournament was over. So it was hard for the first hour, but then it was like, all right, you know, this isn't the end of the world.
Right.
You know? So it's whatever. I'm over it now.
Yeah.
In more of like a life aspect, is there like any challenges you to overcome like outside of wrestling?
Yeah, there's been a few. When I was 11 years old, I had a baby brother who was 14 weeks old, and he passed away from SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. And it was 5th of July, and we always had a big 4th of July party at our house my parents threw on. And, you know, just woke up on the 5th of July, and he wasn't breathing and just passed away in his sleep. So that happened when I was 11, and, you know, it's something I still carry with me to this day because he never got to live life. You know, he never got to do the things that he wanted to do. So everything I do, it's for him, and I try to put in my best attitude towards life and towards wrestling, whatever it is. You know, I'm doing it for him because he never had these opportunities that I have. And then actually in 2020, my dad got COVID really bad. So we went to Vegas, me and a couple of my buddies and my parents and my sisters. And, you know, we got an Airbnb because COVID was still pretty heavy, and we were just chilling, having a good time just to get away from kind of like the bad weather. And the last couple days he wasn't feeling well, and then we got home, and then me and my buddies went back to Ames, Iowa, and I got a call like the next day from my mom, like, hey, your dad's going into the hospital. You know, his lips were blue, he wasn't breathing.
Wow.
And my dad's really stubborn, so he was like, I'm not going to the freaking hospital. Like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And my mom called our family doctor and was like, hey, he's not breathing, his lips are blue, he's not getting any oxygen to his lungs. And he was like, you need to take him to the hospital or else he's going to pass away in his sleep. So after my dad heard that, you know, he finally went to the hospital, and it just wasn't pretty right away. And then, of course, I was sick, so I was in Iowa. I was 5 hours away from my family. I couldn't talk to anybody because I had to quarantine. So I was sick as a dog, too, but I tested negative for COVID somehow, which is crazy. My roommate tested positive, but he wasn't sick. So I was like, you have to be kidding me. Like, this is so
It's
dumb.
such a
It's
weird
crazy.
situation.
Yeah, out of like the 100 COVID tests I took, tested negative every single time, and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, just got an immune system out of.
So yeah, his lungs collapsed right away, and I remember he would FaceTime us and stuff like that. The doctors would let him FaceTime us right away.
Because you couldn't be in there.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's terrible.
Wow.
yeah, and he called us one day and was like, I'm not going to make it. Austin, you have to take care of your sisters and your mom. And I just broke down bad.
Holy
like,
crap.
And it was super hard, you know, hearing that from my dad, because, you know, if I did lose my dad, I would have gave up wrestling. I would have moved back home to help out my sisters.
It's a
and my
life
mom.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and luckily enough, you know, he was in the hospital for about 50 days, I want to say, by himself. And, you know, he's the biggest success story out of that hospital back home in Illinois. And he was supposed to die, but luckily, through a lot of prayer and support all across the country, you know, he made it through. And, you know, he's still with us today, so.
That's really impactful.
That is.
Just like both of those stories. I mean, I
couldn't
can know
imagine.
those like can just shape you, and but I'm glad that, you know, you made it through that. And
Yeah, I kind of use it like as kind of like motivation. Like, my dad has gone through all of that, you know. So who am I to complain about how tough a practice is, how crappy a weight cut feels, you know, how hard, you know, managing school and wrestling is, which isn't hard at all. But, you know, just the little things like this is easy compared to what my dad had to go through. Like, I have nothing to complain about because I'm 100% healthy, and I get to do what I love every single day.
yeah.
Were you still training during that time? Like the 50 days?
I wasn't for like 2 weeks because I was really sick. I lost like 15 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was not eating. I could not eat whatsoever. Yeah, I lost 15 pounds, and then going back into training was rough. Like, once I started feeling better and quarantine was over, you know, I went for like a mile. I went for a run. I only did like a mile, and I ran it in like 11 minutes. I was dying.
Really?
And usually I can run like a 6-minute mile or under if I'm if I'm like running a lot and in really good shape. So I was like, man, we have some work to do.
Yeah.
But luckily enough, the coaches kind of like over at Iowa State kind of like understood what was going on and kind of let me ease my way back into it. Then I went home for a little bit just to be there with my mom and my sisters, because my dad owns a tree service, so I was helping them out a lot. So yeah.
Your dad also, he has a club, right?
Yep. So he has had Gomez Wrestling since I've been, I want to say 7 or 8 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's always had a dream to own his own club, and luckily enough, you know, my dad was over at a good buddy's of ours house, and they were kind of just playing poker, and he's like, Hector, what's your dream? And he's like, to own my own wrestling club. I want to start a wrestling club and impact kids, and because I love coaching. And from right there, he wrote a check, and from that, my dad bought the first wrestling mat for Gomez Wrestling.
Jeez.
And that's when it kind of all
awesome.
started. And we were a really big club. Obviously, it took some growing, and then we grew into like 4 full wrestling mats, so weight equipment, cardio equipment, office area. So he he's done really good for himself. Then he went through a bunch of crap with USA Wrestling, and you know the numbers kind of dwindled down a little bit. And then COVID happened, and you know my dad's still running it today.
Yeah.
In a mall, so he's got like 2 mats and like 30 or 40 kids right now. And what's really taking over for him is the girls wrestling.
Yeah.
Because he's got my sister Alexis, who's coming back home from Grandview, where she is finishing up school, and then he's got 2016 Olympian Haley Gello,
Okay.
who's helping him out over there too. They got like, I want to say 30 girls in the room right now.
Really?
Wow. That's
Yeah.
like the most I've ever heard.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, so they got a really good group of girls in there right now, and it's
Wow.
really cool to see.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but so our teammate Matthew Chi.
Yep, Matt Chi, that's my boy.
He is in love with you and your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all watched when you wrestled Sammy Sasso at the showcase, and he's like on his phone the whole time. And then you come up, and he was like laser focused for like going crazy at the end when you got like those 3 or 4 takedowns.
No, yeah, I remember Matt Chi a lot. You know, he's been with my dad since I want to say like 8 years old maybe. So he's been with him a while.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
And
I didn't know that.
yeah, a long time. And you know, he was just one that, you know, I don't care what it's gonna take. I'm gonna listen to my Hector. I'm gonna do whatever he says, and he did it, and he's really thrived. And he's doing really well for himself.
He is.
And it's super exciting to see a kid like Matt Chi succeed in this sport. And you know, every time I watch him wrestle, you know, it just makes me smile because he's always attacking. He's always shooting, and it's freaking awesome to see. And then he actually beat one of our roommates at the park.
At the Jim Cook Open.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Brock Bobzian.
Oh,
He's our
that's
roommate.
right.
He's upstairs right now.
Bring him down.
So when he beat him, I was kind of dogging on him a little bit, and I was like, "That's what happens when you wrestle Gomez wrestling kid and stuff like that."
I mean, just the strongest dude for his weight.
So strong.
He can deadlift close to like 400. Like it's just
I remember I drilled with him one time because I just had nobody to go with, and I was like, "All right, I'll just go with Matt Chi today." And my dad was like, "Matt Chi, you better be ready." And I was like, "I need to be ready," because he grabbed me, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like this kid is super strong."
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a really great kid. I love seeing his hearing his story and stuff like that. And his dad's a really cool guy too.
Yeah.
So
Oh my goodness, there's just so much stuff about him that.
yeah, I could only imagine.
We were gonna think
Yeah.
like because I don't know if Chi really. I don't think he watches our podcast, but we're like
No.
he's definitely gonna
He's
watch this.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Yeah, I love Matt Chi, man. He's doing really good.
Does your dad have a background in wrestling? Like,
Yeah, so my dad started wrestling just in high school.
Okay.
Over at West Chicago High School. You know, and his dad just only played football. And my dad was super small. He was like a 98-pounder in high school, which he's not that anymore. He's a pretty big guy. But, yeah, he was super small and just loved wrestling, loved what it was about. He only placed once at state. And then right after he graduated high school, you know, he didn't go to college just because the financial support wasn't there. And he just got right into coaching over at our feeder program for Lombard North, which is the Ville Lombard Cougars.
Okay.
So he just coached there for a while, and he's like, I don't want to be told what to do anymore, so I'm starting up my own club. So he loves coaching. He just loves helping everybody out, and his biggest thing is that he loves coaching like the first and second year wrestlers, the 6-year-old to 9-10-year-olds. Like
They make the biggest growth.
He loves the little kids because he's super just adamant about like penetration shots, knee over toe, just repetition, doing the little things. And you know, he sees some of like these high schoolers and stuff like that, and he's like, "You don't know how to shoot. Like, who coached you?" and stuff like this. And it's funny because his nickname is like the Shot Doc.
Really?
And
I like that.
so-
you need to put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just works really well with kids. And then he was actually just here today, and he was watching practice, and he's like, none of these kids know how to shoot, and these are all college kids. So he grabbed all the kids. He like asked Bono and Reader. He's like, "Hey, can I help these guys out?" And they're like, "Yes, please."
Guys on your team?
Yes, guys on the team, Division I wrestlers. And they were just going over kind of how to move your feet and going over knee over toe, penetration step, and stuff like that.
That'd be the
Because when you kind of make it to Division I level, you kind of forget about the smallest things.
Yeah.
And you think you need to do all these flashy things to win.
Yeah.
But it's like a simple high crotch double or single leg that's going to help you get to where you want. So it was funny to see. I was laughing the whole time. I was like, this is hilarious, because these are all Division I wrestlers, and they're getting taught how to do like knee over toe again.
That'd be a funny.
That's
place to be.
awesome.
Was that at Wisconsin or Iowa State?
It was just here today.
Oh,
Wait.
It was here this morning.
This morning?
Yeah, it was here this morning.
Wait, so does your dad live here?
No, so I only live like an hour and a half away
Okay.
from here. So I'm super close to home, which is really nice. But I've been training the past 2 days with Yolas Rodriguez from Cuba, who was a world champ for Cuba at 61 kilos. And I think he won like a silver medal at the Worlds and a bronze. Have you ever seen that video of the Cuban hitting the crazy firemen's on Rashidov, the Russian?
If I
I'm
saw
sure.
it,
I'm sure.
I'm sure we've
If
seen
you
it.
saw it, yeah, but he's the guy that I've been training with. So he's been driving him up the past 2 days, and I've been working out with him, getting ready for the Pan Ams.
How's that?
It's crazy. He's 39 years old, and he's still really good at wrestling.
Really?
Like,
Does he still
really good.
compete?
No, he doesn't compete anymore. But yeah, he is super, super good. Like, quick. I thought I was fast, but this dude takes it to a whole nother level. Because, you know, like all these international wrestlers are kind of like laid back, and then they explode. And that's exactly what he does. So I never know when he's gonna go. And it's exactly what I need to feel, because that's what I'm gonna feel at the World Championships
for
in
sure,
September.
Do you go through like is there any like technique things that he shows like from his Cuban background that's like different from here?
He was showing me a couple things, but it wasn't anything crazy. You know, it was just like a simple where does my head need to be on my shots? You know, instead of bringing the leg up right away on a single leg, just drop down and go to both legs. Or he was showing me a simple kind of just post double today. And it's kind of just, once you post, you go. Like, there's no hesitation. And when you watch him wrestle, there's no hesitation out of him. When he's ready to go, he goes. So that's what I was kind of drilling today, was just post doubles, moving the guy post doubles. And, you know, it was super cool to learn, because, again, like I said before, when you get to the level, you kind of forget about those simple things like a post double.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely going to add it to my arsenal, and because it's something I drilled it probably like 50 times a day, and just to drill it into my brain. And yeah, so having him here has been really good.
Do you like those type of practices?
Oh, I love them. I'm used to them. My dad, ever since I've been 5 years old, was really tough on me.
Yeah.
He was like, by the end of the week, you should have taken 1,000 or more shots, 1,000 or more double leg single, whatever it is. He's like, that's what you need to drill into your brain, is just being a good drill partner, knowing how to drill, and just knowing how to get to your leg attacks. So I was super fortunate that my dad was kind of hard on me. It sucked at times, but if he wasn't, I wouldn't be in this position I am today. So
Yeah.
Did you always have a goal of being like a top wrestler?
yeah, that was always the goal.
Is the goal Olympic champ at
It's
the
the
end of the
goal,
day?
Olympic champs. Yep, I got to win a national title first. So I'm still searching for that national title, but I'm gonna forget about that and just go win the worlds this year. But yeah, that's always been the goal. When I was little, I had a lot of success winning like the Tulsa kickoffs, the Reno Worlds, the folk style nationals, the kids nationals down over in Utah. I basically won everything you needed to win. So it's like there's a lot of pressure on me from a young age to do well and succeed. Not only because I was winning, but because my dad was a coach. So I had to practice a certain way. You know, I couldn't really take any days off. You know, I had to be at every practice because I'm the coach's son. You know, I kind of had to set the example. Right. And that example was just work, putting your head down and work. You know, trying not to talk back. You know, having your dad as a coach is pretty hard. But
Does he treat you different than other kids?
100%.
Like just tougher on you?
Tougher on me, a lot tougher. You know, even if I was kicking the crap out of the kid in practice, you know, he was always like, "You're not doing this right. You're not doing this right." You know, and super thankful for him. And again, I wouldn't be where I am today without him. So even though I hated it at times, I wanted to quit. I just was like, someday this is gonna pay off, and it's starting to pay off.
That's going to be crazy if you win a world championship before winning a national championship.
That's what Kyle Snyder's It's what Kyle Snyder did. So
Yeah.
you know, there's nothing wrong with it. And
That'd be
you know,
awesome.
That'd be super
I
sick.
love freestyle. Freestyle's my favorite style.
Yeah.
You know, I get awarded more for my throws, and then you know, you don't wrestle top bottom as much, and I hate wrestling top bottom in folk style. I just think it slows it down a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm really good with my gut wrench and being able to defend and stuff like that. So
What do you think about the new proposed rule changes with the 3-point takedown?
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them. You can be up 6-2 after 2 takedowns.
100%.
And then add back points in there. You're up 10-2 if you put them 2 yards back. And, you know, there's no incentive to ride anybody anymore, which I love because I barely ride anybody anyways.
Yeah.
Because I'm a guy that, like, if I need to go get a takedown, I think I can take him down whenever I want. So I'm more comfortable on my feet. And, you know, there's really no rush to get out of bottom now anymore.
That's a good point.
So we were just talking about it with Bono today, and because he's on the rules committee, so he was in Indianapolis, I think it was, you know, discussing all these rules, and you know they still got to go to another step. Like I think the NCAA has to clear them before they actually get passed. So he said they talked about like the push out rule and stuff like that, and that got washed away right away.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think we need it.
Yeah.
Just to keep guys from wrestling, yeah.
And it gets a score up too. Like people want to see something exciting. If they see like even people are newer to the sport, they're like, oh yeah, every time you go out of bounds, someone gets a point.
Exactly. You know, and I think that's it would be super beneficial for me, just because I know guys don't want to wrestle me at times and kind of just play the edge and try to sneak one in on me. But you know, if that was proposed, I would kind of take that away a little bit. But if it was up to me, I think we should just make folk style wrestling just freestyle.
That's
the
what I
rest,
was just
the
gonna
rest
say
of the
that.
world is doing it. So
Well,
why?
At
why
what
can't
point do we
it?
just switch it to freestyle?
Yeah.
Didn't you
Like-
show me a tweet about like, oh my gosh, look at these proposed wrestling rule changes?
Yeah.
But it was just freestyle.
Freestyle.
Like, it was literally just
Yeah.
freestyle.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, yeah, the rest of the world does it. So why can't we do it?
Exactly.
You know,
Who invented folk style? Is it
I
just-
don't know, but they.
It's just so pointless.
I don't understand like the thinking going on like when the biggest thing to win was the World Championships and Olympics, and we only want to have our little bubble of folk style. Like it just thinking back, it's like who really made that decision to okay, let's have college wrestling just be completely different from anyone else anywhere in the world.
Especially the next level, like you're completely switching styles.
Yeah.
In a few years.
Exactly. I think it's kind of hard for me. Wrestling's wrestling at the end of the day. You know, obviously scoring's different and stuff like that. But you know, if you know how to wrestle, you can make the transition really easily into freestyle, right? So you know, it's harder to make that transition from Greco and then going back into folk style. I joke all the time, and like you don't see too many like Greco wrestlers, you know, really succeed in folk style.
That's true.
Very
And
true.
It's kind of crappy to say, but it's kind of the truth.
It is.
So
It's kind of funny that you said you don't like to ride very much, because I was looking at your like your stat page on Iowa State, I think, and it was either your freshman or sophomore year you like led the team in near fall.
yeah, which is crazy. Which is crazy. I mean, I'm like, if I have to ride somebody, I'll ride somebody. But if I don't have to, then I'm just gonna let you go. And I just ride just to get the riding time. Like I'm not trying to turn you. I'm just trying to take the fight out of you a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so when I let you back up, it's easier to get those takedowns. Yeah, that's funny. I forgot about that. But I didn't score too many back points this year unless I throw a guy on his back. But yeah, I'm just not a big turner, and it's just something. My dad just always preached takedowns. So he never really showed me anything on top. He would try to bring guys in, and some guy tried to teach me the legs, and I was like, "This is stupid. Like I'm never gonna be able to throw the legs in on anybody."
Yeah.
And whenever like somebody tries to put like you know how some guys will force a leg in, I'll just like if they force it in, I take it out immediately because I don't know how to ride legs, and it's just something I wasn't really taught at a young age.
Wow. Well, at Iowa State you wrestled 133, right? Both,
I did.
all years.
Well, I had 2 basically years at Iowa State where I actually wrestled. My redshirt year, I was cutting down the 133, and it was kind of hard. I was weighing like 50, 55, and that's before I even really kind of hit like a second growth spurt. So that was hard, but I made it with ease. And then the second year, the year I actually competed, it was really freaking hard.
Yeah.
I was weighing like, again, 50, 55, and yeah, it was just a struggle. I remember one time, made it. I had it down to a science almost. Then we went home for Christmas break, and that was not good for me. I went home, and I was running, and I was just like, F this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I wasn't eating very good. Whenever I go home, I kind of like get away from my diet plan, so I don't try to go home as much.
Yeah.
Like, if I go home, maybe it's for like just like a dinner, and I need to get the heck out of there, because I just love snacking.
Yeah.
And I have a big sweet tooth, so like if there's something bad for me in the house, I can't just have a little bit of it. I gotta have the whole thing.
You got any preferences?
I'm a big ice cream guy.
Ice cream.
I'm a big ice cream guy.
Just vanilla.
No, cookies and cream or like Oreos my go-to.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I got up to 155. I probably went home at like 140, and we were there. Kevin Dresser, who's the coach at Iowa State, was like, I want you to get away. Go home. Don't come back any earlier than when everybody needs to be back. And I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yes. I'm like, okay, sounds good. And yeah, I was eating and didn't want to work out whatsoever because I was over the weight cut. And I got up to like 150, 155. And like 2 days before I had to get back, I checked my weight, and I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
This is not good. And we were going to the Southern Scuffle January 1st. So when we got back, we were leaving like in 3 days.
Yeah.
So I had to get my weight down. I got it down to like 48, and I was like 15 over when I got there. Luckily enough, because they always put me on the scale. They always put me on the scale because I always had weight issues. And at Iowa State, I'm sure they still do this now. They have a weight chart.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the season, preseason, you have to come in every Monday, like either it's a pound or a half pound lower than the week before. And you have to come in that weight every single day for that week. And then the next Monday, it has to drop down.
Is there like a penalty?
Yeah, you have to do like 20 or 30 minutes of cardio after practice. And I was always doing cardio after practice.
Is this like you have to show up to practice at that weight?
Yeah, you have to come into practice at that weight.
So would guys be like cutting weight? Like
No.
Nah.
No, not at all. Because that was just the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
So it held us accountable, and I still do that today. It's just like, all right, during the college season, because college season is long, you're making weight every single week.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't get heavier than 8 pounds over.
Yeah.
So I stay, but back to the story, I get back, and I'm like 15 pounds over, don't get put on the scale at all leading up to the Southern Scuffle. I was like, all right, this is good. This is really good. They didn't ask me my weight at all. But there's a part of me that I think they knew, and they just didn't want to get mad, so they just didn't check. And so we go to the Southern Scuffle, and I get there, and I'm like, we have a workout before we leave for the Scuffle, and I get down to, I'm like 2 pounds over.
Okay.
So I'm within striking distance. I'm like, all right, I'm good. And we get to the Southern Scuffle. We get there. We get a workout in, and I'm like 3 over after our workout. Then we went to lunch, and I got up to like 7.5 over.
Oh,
and they checked our weights just to make sure everybody was good. And they saw me at 7.5 over. And they're like, what did you do? And I was like, I was hungry and thirsty.
No.
So, yeah, I worked out for about an hour and lost like 8.5 pounds. So I actually got to eat dinner before.
8.5 pounds, dude.
Yeah,
Were
so I
you
got
just running, wrestling?
wrestling, bike, running, stance of motion, jump roping, anything you can do. Had like a little steam room.
When
in our
you're doing that,
shower.
do you ever wish like maybe I shouldn't have had that food?
No, it's 100% worth it. When you make weight, it's like, yeah, that was definitely worth it.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
But yeah, and then after that, I was struggling all year because I was just like this with my weight up and down because my body had to get used to it again. And it was a struggle. Then it finally got under control like the last month of the season. And I was never over like 140 at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
And it helped me a lot. But that year took a lot out of me just because of the way I mismanaged my weight and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
I mean, did you beat RBY that year?
Pinned him.
yeah, I pinned RBY that year. He was beating me like 8-2 before I pinned him. me and him are really close buddies, so it like sucked that we wrestled. But
Oh,
we knew it
really?
was gonna happen sometime down the road.
Was that at
and
Big
then
Tens?
Southern Scuffle.
That was at the Southern
Yeah, that was
Scuffle?
at the Southern Scuffle.
Okay.
And then I beat
Wait.
DeSanto that year too.
You were at the Santo?
Yeah, I beat him in our duel. This is a good story too. So we were going to the duel or whatever, and Dresser's like, all right, he's kind of telling everybody the game plan. I'm going to draw weight. And, we're like, all right, sweet, because it kind of messes with Tom and Terry.
Yeah.
And if you ever see Tom and Terry and in, like, a weigh-in area, before a duel, and luckily enough, I've been fortunate to witness it a couple times, and you're like, I want to draw. They're like, why? Why do you want to draw? Let's start at 25. We got to start at 25. And they get super amped up. So it got kind of heated back
Because
there.
they got their guy.
Yeah. And it got kind of heated back there because it was ex-Cyclones coaching Iowa State, or ex-Iowa Hawkeyes coaching Iowa State, and then you got the Iowa guys that coached every single one of those guys.
Yeah.
Because that's always that's so heated all the time. So.
And Dresser goes, how funny would it be if we pulled 141? I'd be like, that'd be amazing, because then the duel ends at 33. And, it's kind of like the marquee matchup, and it was kind of a match where, I could really put my name out there. It's like, hey, I'm a contender this year, and, like, just don't look past me. And they draw 141. I'm like, all right. And luckily enough, coming down to the last match, we're down by 4 points. And it was a back-and-forth match. It was a brawl. And then, like, the last minute, I threw him to his back and almost pinned him and won the duel. But it didn't happen.
How
That's
do I
crazy.
not remember that?
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Iowa State.
What was that, 2019?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that was,
4 years
yeah.
ago?
That's
Or was
crazy.
it 2018, actually?
What is-
2018, 'cause
what's
we
it
wrestled
like?
in December.
Yeah.
What was it like wrestling him?
It's crazy. I mean, he's just super hard hand fighter. He
Yeah.
holds onto your armpits and digs his fingernails into your armpits and stuff like that.
Aw.
My armpits are
He's
red.
so he's like a dirty wrestler. A little bit.
Yeah, he's just super tenacious, and it's like, I will do whatever it takes to win. And you got to love that out of him.
Yeah.
I know he gets kind of dogged on a little bit for his post-match, like, theatrics and stuff like that. But, I mean, you got to respect the kid for the way he competes and his love for the sport of wrestling.
For sure.
What do you think about, like, kind of like showboating, whether it be like after you win or just kind of that showy mentality? Because the fans love it. And I don't know if, like, there's like a stigma going around every time they see someone, like, whether they do excessive celebration or something, they're like quick to say, like, oh, where's the sportsmanship or whatever. But for me, I think that's helping wrestling. If it gets people eyes on it, like, you look at, like, ESPN posting wrestling. They only post wrestling if it's like crazy celebrations that people really like or something like that. I mean, I think that's the way to get wrestling more mainstream. It's just those things.
I love it. And Bono and Reader preach, like, whenever you win, celebrate, man. I mean, it's a big, especially if you get a big win.
Sure.
Like, you worked, however hard you worked for that week leading up to that match, you get to celebrate a little bit.
Yeah.
And, I was just growing up a lot, like, I was a big Iowa fan growing up, and you really never saw those guys celebrate too much, so that's kind of how I was. And then kind of college has changed that. I think it's really good for the sport. Sometimes it gets taken a little too far, but it's part of the sport, and I think it's amazing. So
Do you like the trash talk, like the Starachi?
I'm actually, like, a big fan of Starachi's, like, kind of trash talk.
Yeah.
It's entertainment for me.
Yeah.
And he backs it up.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
he's backing up his talk. So, hey, if you're gonna talk the talk, you better walk the walk. So he's doing a really good job at it. I usually, like, would never trash talk. Like, it's just not who I am. I have respect for all my competitors and who I'm competing against. But, like, it's pretty embarrassing if you're talking trash and you go out and lose.
Yeah.
So that's, like, anything could happen in a wrestling match. So I kind of just, like, stay away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
if I was a UFC fighter, I would never be able to promote a fight just because I'm like, it's going to look stupid if I get knocked out. And some of those guys do look really stupid when they get knocked out after talking a lot of trash.
Yeah.
Don't want to get clipped.
Do you have any plans to get in MMA?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Too much concussion history. And for me, it's like, I don't want to take a knee or a foot straight to the mouth.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't sound, like, appealing to me at all.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stick to wrestling. And if I were going to go into fighting, I think I'd go into boxing. Because
Really?
that's where all the money's at.
No,
These
sure.
UFC fighters aren't really getting paid too much. Most of the money they make is off, like, endorsements and sponsorships. And you see these pay-per-view fights for boxing. Some of these fighters are making millions just off one fight.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you win a big fight, you know, you're setting your family up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would go into.
Any WWE dreams?
No.
Definitely not.
I think that is like dumb. I don't know. It's just, I mean, some guys are going for it. Hey, good for them. You know, they're making money.
Yeah.
But it's just not something I would like interest me whatsoever.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Do you get? Is there like any scuffles in the wrestling room you ever been a part of?
Yeah, there's been a few. At Iowa State, we were some brawlers, and you know, it was just a hard-nosed room. Not so much here at Wisconsin. Like, to me, what I tell the guys is like, listen, when we step into the wrestling room, I'm not your friend anymore. You know, it's my job to make you better, and it's your job to make me better. And if we get in a fight, so be it. You know, but we can walk out of the wrestling room, go into the locker room, and then start just talking,
Yeah.
and just be friends again.
Sure.
Like, if you start taking it personal outside of the wrestling room, then, you know, maybe the sport of wrestling isn't for you. You know, you got to be
Sure.
able to draw that distance and stuff
Yeah.
like that between wrestling and then just being friends and teammates off
Yeah.
of that.
I feel like
That's
that's
a good point.
exactly what our coach these past 2 years have just been trying to put on our team.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's been some times when things have happened or scuffles or like fights, and people kind of like take it a little more personal than maybe they should.
Yeah.
But I think overall it just makes us tougher and it gets us closer in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it's part of the sport, man. You know, wrestling is a grueling sport. It's a tough sport. It's not supposed to be a nice sport. So if you get into a fight, you get into a fight. You know, I mean, it just shows kind of how tough you are. You know, if you're getting beat up in the wrestling room, and if you don't take a swing, you know, then you're kind of taking a step back towards the guy,
Yeah.
and you're not showing any fight.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if I'm getting beat up in practice, you know, I'm clubbing you. You know, I'm trying to get dirty because I need to find ways to score.
Sure.
And we're in the wrestling room, so it doesn't really, we're not in an actual wrestling match, so it doesn't really matter. So I remember one time I was wrestling with Reeder, who's a really strong dude, and you know, I watched some of these dudes like he beats up on in the practice room, and I was like, I don't know why you guys just like don't take a swing at him. And stuff like that, like a really hard club or something. Yeah, he's your coach, but I think he's gonna respect you a little bit more than, you know, just laying down for him.
Yeah. That's a good
So
point.
I wrestled with one time, and I started out wrestling. And I just clubbed him one hard time just to show him like I'm not falling down for you whatsoever. Yeah, I got my butt beat, but you know, I didn't fall down for him. I made it pretty hard.
My heart's just got started racing if I'm thinking of doing that to Craig.
Yeah.
Like if like Craig Becker on our team,
Yeah.
if I club him, I know I'm gonna put in a leg crater
Yeah.
or something. Ay.
Have you ever wrestled? Do you know Craig Becker or Nick Becker?
I know Nick a little bit, but not Craig.
No. Okay. Well, I know Nick trained with Reeder a lot.
Oh, during this time, just
When he was
getting
at the
ready for
RTC.
that. Okay, yeah.
And they had like I remember he was telling a story of him and Reeder like the most competitive people.
Yeah.
Is he like still competitive, or is he more of a like?
No, he's super competitive. He wants to win at everything. You know, whether it's in the wrestling room, he wrestles with DJ a lot. So, you know, he beats up on DJ a little bit and some of the other guys. But, you know, whenever we go golfing together, you know, he wants to beat you.
Yeah.
No matter how bad we are, you know, he's trying to beat you. He's like, I'm going to beat you today just so I can say that I beat you in a round of golf. I'm like, all right. And then, you know, he runs with us. He runs sprints with us before our lifts. And it's like he's going balls to the walls. And, you know, even before Bono says go, he takes off 5 seconds before because that's how bad he wants to win. And, you know, it's just never ending for that guy. But you love to see that out of a coach.
Yeah.
You know, if a coach is willing to go through the struggles that he already went through but is still willing to go through, it makes you as an athlete be like, all right, why can't I do it then?
Yeah,
You know, it's basically my job to be here and, you know, go win for these guys and win for myself and win for my teammates. So if he's willing to go through all these things still,
Yeah.
then I should be willing to go through all these things.
I'll tell you what, whenever Nick's in the room, like wrestling, just like it motivates me to like be like, yeah, my coach is in here, like working with us, like
Yeah.
hardcore, like just sweating, and like, I like to see that.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. You don't see too many coaches now kind of grind like Reeder does. I think if there was a tournament with all of the Division I coaches, Reeder would kill everybody.
Really?
Yes. He's in shape, doesn't get tired, can still wrestle, and yeah, I think he would manhandle a lot of these coaches.
How big is he?
think he weighs about like, what do you say? Kind of like 175,
Oh,
180.
okay.
He's super
Your
lean.
weight.
Oh god.
Yeah. Like, he's not. I don't wrestle with him anymore, but I like if I don't have a partner and Reader's like, who needs one? I just kind of just take somebody else, and then you're going with Reader.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not going with Reader.
That's funny. Who is like your top partners right now?
I wrestle a lot with Felix Latini, who's our 41 pounder. He's a freshman.
Okay.
He's an up and coming kid. Still got a lot of things to learn. He takes some beatings, and then Joe Zargo, I wrestle with a lot, 41 pounder. And then I worked out with Garrett Model a lot too, who's graduating. And then, whenever Seth wants to roll around, I'll roll around with Seth too.
Sure.
So I try to just stay within my weight. And, so those are the main kind of training partners for me. For me, a training partner is super important, like just knowing how to drill. Like,
Yes.
if you're a really good wrestler and you don't know how to drill, I will not go with you. Because you got to be able to flow and stuff like this. And you wrestle with some guys, and they're always somehow poking you in the eye. And you're like, there's always this one kid. There's always been like one kid. If I'm going with him, I know I'm getting hurt. So it's like, I'm not gonna go. With
That's
you.
this
That's
dude
him.
behind the camera.
if I'm gonna go with you, I know I'm getting hurt. So I'm just not gonna go with you.
Yeah.
And I've had some injuries in my day, so I try not to get hurt anymore. But yeah, being a good drill partner to me is really important.
Yeah, I like that.
It's funny. He literally like
You gotta share the story.
Yeah. So like, it was like our first practice back. I can't remember what we were doing, but it was like we were going. Oh, it was after nationals because we had like a 2-week break. And first practice back, we're doing groups of 4, and he goes for like the Amari roll or whatever it's called. Where, like you roll on your back, and his feet come up and he head kicks me. And then like the next practice, he like rolls my ankle, and I have to go to the trainer. But that one,
Yeah, I definitely probably would have took a swing on you. 'Cause I remember there was one practice when I was back at Iowa State. I had like a single leg, and I was dealing with concussions a lot. And some dude kind of like, when you're in a single leg, and the defensive guy tries to like bring his leg back into your face.
Yes,
and he just caught me right in the chin.
That's...
Lucky I didn't get a concussion from it, but I was so freaking irritated. I was like, what made you think like you wanted to do that? Like, why? What was the process? What was going through your head when you wanted to do that? Like, why?
It's not that deep.
Yeah.
It's not that serious. Just give up the takedown. It makes it easier for me and you.
Yeah,
Because now
seriously.
I won't be mad if you just give me the takedown. But now, since you kicked me in the face, we're gonna have a little beef and wrestling for the rest of practice.
I like that.
What's like your concussion history?
So I've got, it's like 5 or 6 documented concussions. But I really don't know how many.
Over
I really
like
have.
how long? Like when was your first?
From freshman year at Iowa State.
Oh, what?
Yep, freshman
All
year
during
at Iowa
college.
State. I missed half of the season. First semester of the season, missed it because of concussion. And like my concussions, every time I've gotten one, I've gotten knocked out cold.
What?
Like, yeah. And every time I've woken up and came to, trainer in my face, coach in my face, I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then I'd stand up and I could barely walk. I was unbalanced, stuff like that. But that was my first one. And then didn't have any issues with him for like a year and a half. And then, when was the next one? I want to say 2019. Was training, was getting ready, was feeling good, getting my weight down back to where it needs to be. And by this time, when I'm cutting down to 33, I kind of hit that second growth spurt, and I'm weighing like 60, 65. And, the cut down to 33 wasn't pretty. So once I'd get down to like 140, feeling good. Well, not feeling good, but kind of like getting my body used to this feeling again of like sucking a little bit of weight. And then got another concussion before our first competition. So, and then that's when I went to go see a specialist out in Pittsburgh. And, he's telling me what's going on, what kind of different concussions I have. There's like 5 different types of concussions, and, how it can affect kind of like your eyes, your balance, headaches, and kind of stuff like that. So I learned a lot, and he's like, this is what we need to do. I don't want you wrestling this season. And unfortunately, during that season, that's when COVID happened. So, like, luckily I didn't wrestle, or else it would have been a waste of a year.
Yeah.
And then the next one, I think, happened that summer, but that one wasn't too bad. I was only out for like a week or two because I don't know what it was, just wasn't a bad one. And then we were getting ready. Well, it was 2021, I think, and we were going to wrestle at some U.S. Open. It was in Iowa City, in Iowa, and it was like my first match back in 2 years, I want to say. And the first 30 seconds of the match, I tore my MCL.
Oh my
That is just a bad string of events.
So that happened, and the season luckily wasn't starting until January because of the late start, and the shortened season. And then right before I was getting ready, knee injury was healed. I was getting ready, get hit with another concussion. Boom, like 2 weeks before the first competition. And I was like, man, this sucks. And I think that's when I kind of sat down with myself and was like, all right, I don't think I can do this anymore. So it's like the weight cut got to me, not managing my weight right in the summer, not doing the right things. And yeah, just kind of like wrestling wasn't worth it to me anymore if I kept getting hurt and I wasn't able to wrestle. And it sucked just dealing with all the mental battles and had stuff to overcome. And, that's when I decided to retire. And I was a senior then at Iowa State. And, took 6 months off, and I was like, I think I'm going to come back. And, that's when I entered the transfer portal and ended up at Wisconsin.
What made you choose Wisconsin?
I mean, Bono, Reeder, and Gross are just great coaches, high energy, everything I was looking for. I needed something different. I had to transfer because the medical staff at Iowa State just couldn't take on that kind of liability, if something kind of were to happen to me if I got another concussion.
Okay.
So, but I think I would have transferred anyways. I needed something new. I needed a fresh start. I just needed something to rejuvenate my career again. So that's when I entered the transfer portal. And yeah, after I entered the transfer portal, it was like 20 minutes later, I get an Instagram DM from John Reeder. He gives me his number. He was just like, call me. And he was the first coach that reached out to me. And, it just showed like, oh, hey, I can still, like, maybe I am still good enough to do this. Because when I entered the portal, I wanted to go to Grandview, where my sister was at, which is an NAIA school. And, my parents were kind of just like, no, you're not going there. I'm going to reach out to some coaches. My dad has a lot of connections with a lot of coaches and stuff like that. And when he told them I was coming back, news started to spread that I entered the portal, and I just got a couple calls from like D2 and D3 schools, but I was like, I want to go Division I still.
Yeah.
Like I really do think I can still compete at the highest level. And Wisconsin, man, I mean, it's an hour and a half away from home. I'm really close to my family. They're my ride or dies, I'd go to hell and back for them. Getting a master's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
But at this point in my career, I wasn't too worried about school. It's just bad to say, but it's like we joke around saying, like, we didn't come here to play school. I came here to win and wrestle and win a national title.
Yeah.
That's why I came to school.
Yeah.
If I didn't wrestle, I probably wouldn't have went to school. Just, our family just had to work for everything we had, and, college just too much money.
Sure.
And, I just didn't want to live in debt for the rest of my life. But, yeah, wrestling really gave me kind of that leeway to get an education. And I take it seriously.
Sure.
If I see some of these kids who, like, do bad in school, and I'm like, it's not that hard, all you have to do is show up and, like, just do every assignment.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that hard. But, yeah, I mean, Wisconsin, man, I love it. Couldn't picture myself at any other place with another group of guys, to kickstart my career again. And, I think I really thrived here, and I'm super happy I ended up in
Absolutely.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We don't have a national title here for you, but we do have something. That shoe, he has a shoe shop, and we got these Clash of Combat. It is numbered, so you're our third guest.
That's sweet.
So you can hang this up on the mantle.
Oh, yeah. Look at this bad boy. This thing's heavy.
Yeah, it is. Comes with
That's
like a
freaking
nice little
awesome.
stand.
Yeah.
So
This thing is cool. That's awesome. Thank you.
yeah, no, absolutely.
I appreciate it, guys.
You have anything else?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. No, this is so fun. I'm so looking forward to seeing you next season.
Yeah.
It's been an exciting time already.
Seriously.
The past year, so.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. I'm just ready to go out and shut everybody up, right the wrong from this last season, and kind of just put a stamp on my college career. The long 7 years I'm going to be in college, but yeah, I'm super excited.
That's awesome.
And,
Yeah.
I'm chasing down that national title every single day. I'm wake up and I think of the Sammy Sassos and stuff like that, the Ridge Lovitts, and all guys I'm undefeated against, never lost to. So, yeah, I know I can do it. I know I have what it takes to do it. I just got to put a season together and, stay healthy. I got to stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hearing your story is super motivating, actually.
Yeah,
I love it.
I've overcome some stuff in my life, but, it's made me into the man I am today. So.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
This has been great.
No problem. Thanks.